we're really excited about today and the content today. If anybody's just rolling in, I'm Stacy McKenna with Mydoma. Of course, Jenna also with Mydoma joining us. I just want to take a quick second, and I hope the chat blows up. So anytime we put on one of these events, I should, and I hope I have every time, be thanking Jason, who behind the scenes makes all of the technical happen. So it's really quite a production, believe it or not. It's not just a simple Zoom. There's a fair bit that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that the day is uninterrupted and that you guys are having, the easiest experience possible on the technology side. But today is Jason's birthday. So yeah, lots of love to Jason today. It's probably not his very favorite way to spend his birthday. It's a bit of tension and stress, making sure everything pulls off smoothly. But let's make sure that he knows we're all grateful and that we wish him a very happy birthday. So, a few housekeeping things, as I said, just to get started. Today in Grow with Homebuilders, we're going to give you everything you need to create and deliver a finished schedule selection package for home builders. There's going to be a fair bit of content today. It is, however, all recorded. So just keep that in mind. If you feel like you need more clarification, or you really want to watch something again, or you want to, pause it and take notes, you're going to be receiving the recordings within 48 hours after the event end. So you'll have ample opportunity to do that. There's a lot of tools and templates coming your way too, to make this process clearer and cleaner. Those will be sent with the recordings within 48 hours. Now, everybody, I love that everybody jumped right on the chat and that you're all getting to know each other. It's a pretty big group today. So it's always fun to see who else is joining, where they're joining from, and what they're hoping to get from the day. I will ask, so the chat kind of moves fast and it scrolls, and it's hard for us on the team to kind of keep up with it. If you put your questions in the Q&A section, though, it's a lot easier for us to keep track, so we can, mark them as answered once they have been, and they don't just scroll and get lost. So any questions you have for any of the presenters today, please put them in the Q&A. There'll be members of the Mydoma team monitoring the Q&A throughout the day. You can ask questions at any time. In some of the beefier sections, there's a dedicated Q&A time at the end where we'll, tackle all of those questions at once. Okay, so let me take a second just to glance at the chat here. That's great. So we have, I'm surprised by the number of people joining us live, Jenna. So over 70% of those, wow. Yeah, which, we had a lot of people from the UK, some people from South Africa, just a big variety globally. So I know that it, might be the wee morning hours for some of you. It might be pretty late in the evening for others. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We are very excited to deliver this content today. And the reason we, chose to deliver it, there's a few reasons. So for those of you that are maybe newer to the Mydoma community, we really pride ourselves on staying in touch with the industry, both because many of the members of our team are still practicing designers, but also because we keep a real open door with our designers, and we're constantly, talking and chatting and getting feedback on what you all are looking to see more of, what kind of services you're looking to expand on, where you're feeling a little less confident in your ability to deliver services. Now, in this particular case, doing a course on this topic has been brewing for a while. But until Jenna joined us last year, none of us on the team have really kind of had the specific expertise in developing a service package around this topic. From having followed Jenna for a couple of years, I knew that she has had a great deal of success with this service. So we were very happy to start putting together the content for today's event, and knowing that you have a real expert here to help guide you through it. So Jenna, maybe tell everyone, you know, some have followed your journey, but some might be brand new. How did you first start working with home builders?
So let me take a step back and just say, welcome everybody, good morning. Super excited for today's topic. I usually get nervous before these things, but I love this topic so much that I think it's gonna be such a great day. And take what you can from it and adapt it to your own business. There's so many different pieces. So I first started with home builders actually through referrals, through some realtors. So I always tend to go to realtors first, personally, just because they have the best connections to builders. And then once you reach one that works with builders, you can kind of start to develop your systems and programming so that you can reach out to other builders as well. And that's kind of how it happened for me. It just started snowballing from just one referral from a realtor that was very well connected with a developer in Florida when I was living there. Secondly, I have also personally built 2 houses in the past, technically, I guess 3 years now. 2019 is when we started, and then we closed on the first one in Florida right before COVID. So interest rates were amazing, and then we sold it, but also flipped a profit, which was great. So the new house that we just built, we built through COVID. And so the experiences personally that I have had to go through for the past year. And if you've been following my emails, you know about all of that. It sucked, yes, but it really made the experience for me more relatable to the end user and to the client. So I've got some interesting stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can, with all of your expertise, if you were feeling overwhelmed at times, imagine someone, you know, coming in fresh, either having never built a home or having absolutely no talent for design or no experience or expertise in the area. Yeah, that overwhelm is pretty serious. So back when you first started talking to realtors and floating the idea around, what services did you initially pitch?
So rendering, actually, the first thing that I pitched when I was standing there talking to realtors, it came up organically. I wasn't like there to push it. I just happened to go to some show houses. We weren't even in the market for purchasing at the time, but I was just talking up the realtors and I was like, oh my gosh, like, look what I can do. And I showed them the renders now in the visualizer that I was creating. And this was, 2-3 years ago. So here's one right now on the screen. And we're going to talk about this project today, but I basically said, hey, why don't you do this so that people can see the different variations and they can see what their different selections are. All you have to do is have me build up the base model, and then I can very easily change things out. You can do guided tours and things like that. And I pitched this to them, again, organically, when I was standing there with them, because they didn't have all their houses built yet. They didn't have all their floor plan offerings available for people to walk into. So I said, you could do this virtually until you have time to build it, or you have a plot that's going to, be coming up soon.
So smart. I mean, as they say, a picture says 1,000 words. I'm constantly running into this. So my husband is a woodworking hobbyist, and I am someone who always has new ideas for things I want to do around the house. And although we've been together for 30 years and I know him well, I think it's only in the last couple of years that I discovered that he has absolutely no ability to picture anything. And I can see the finished product easily. And again, being together for 30 years, sometimes we don't communicate every single step. So while I've been fairly hesitant to, the spoiler for everybody, I actually I'm one of the few on the MyDoma team who does not use the rendering tool, who cannot use the rendering tool, but I'm finally been encouraged and have been playing with it more so that I can give my husband more completed sketches of my vision.
Yeah.
So that, yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the finished service you delivered, and how long did it take you to complete that?
Okay, so there's two different programs that I've basically been doing. One of them is for a developer. The other one is for a home builder that actually did not have a plan in place. What he was doing previously was, hey, here's your floor plan. Here's a list of where you can go to select your finishes. Go and then come back and tell me what you want. And I was like, that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, obviously the trades are very knowledgeable. They had contacts and stuff like that. But I was like, you need to streamline this because this is kind of a mess. Like I loved it because I had unlimited options at the tile store, but that is so overwhelming for everybody. So when I was talking to my neighbors in the new construction neighborhood, they were like, I had no idea what I was selecting. I have regrets now, and all of that. So I was like, I approached the realtor who works with the builder. So she sells all the properties that he is putting on the market, all the plots that he has right now. So they work to sell that. And so I approached her and I was like, I can build this for you. I can literally give you, you tell me where your cabinets are coming from. You tell me, all your base things, because they did have that. They had countertops that were in the price range that they were working with. They had cabinets and specific colors in mind. So I said, why don't I create some flat lays for you? Here's my fee, all of that. We'll get into fees later, but here is what I can do for you. I can do 5 different options for all the bathrooms so that when you present to your new homeowners as they're going through the buying process, they say, okay, I want A, B, and C. Or A, B, or C, and they make that selection. But then in your showroom, or what they were doing was actually pitching in their conference center at the real estate office. So when they do it, they actually take the samples, tangible samples, and they say, do you like this one? Now you can feel it after seeing the option in a flat lay format on the screen. So they could switch out things if they wanted to and really play around with it. But I produced a jumping off point for every single room for exterior HOA approved paint colors, indoor colors, and also for lighting that worked with certain finishes. We'll get into all that soon too.
Okay. And so what would you say ballpark putting together those flat lays, putting together those finished selections?
So I was 8 months pregnant. So it took way longer than 8 months. And I was up and down on the ladder and I was like, oh, this is so hot in Florida. So I went above and beyond for this. I gave them extra options just because when I start creating flat lays, I really can't stop. Like it's so much fun to come up with the different combinations. So I'd say between the collection of materials, going over the floor plans, and then going to the tile store, checking out the tiles that I wanted, and then curating the boards. I would say it probably took about 15 hours.
Okay. And that's the initial. I would assume that now, as you're doing that service, that you've really reduced the time spent on
very much.
Yeah.
This was basically a beta to say, like, how do I do this? What are the steps? And now going forward, I'm streamlined, ready to go.
And no one had given you the blueprint, right? You were basically building it as you went. So hopefully after today, everybody on this call is going to have that blueprint. They'll be able to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So why this course? I mean, I talked a little bit about Mydoma's reasons, but you personally, why do you think designers should be working with builders?
So I talked about this a little bit in yesterday's email that I sent out. I love working with homeowners. I really do. But also I really hate working with homeowners because they're so emotional sometimes. So when the builder opportunities presented themselves, I was like, yes, I have to be doing this. I love curating rooms and materials and all that stuff. I don't love designing kitchens. That is not my forte. So we go to the trades, they design them with our floor plans. I render them later, and I make the selections. So what I chose to do was only the fun things. Like I literally said, I don't do that. I do this. I don't do that. I do this. And then I curated my services and pricing around what I enjoy doing. So that's why I chose to do this, because every once in a while I need a break from the clients to just have fun. And that's kind of what this is for me. It's very fun.
Right. And it's such a win-win too, right? Because, you know, a lot of builders are really out of their element and having these discussions with clients. So you're really, you know, solving a problem for them as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's giving you a break from, and I totally get that. I don't know if I've ever told you that story, but it's been a very long time since I did any decorating professionally. So I grew up, my parents had a furniture store, which I eventually took over. And just, you know, over time, working with clients, making suggestions, studying and learning, you know, opportunities for providing decorating services to these clients kept increasing. I kept resisting it. And finally, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with it. About 2 years into that, I had a customer at my store who was looking to invest in some vacation properties here in Prince Edward Island. So I lived in PEI at the time. He was based in New York, didn't live here, didn't ever care to live here. Basically just gave me a back before, you know, any electronic money transfer options, just would give me large checks. If I was getting close to the limit, he would write me another large check. There was never any question about anything going into that project. It was just, you know, here's the business need, solve it for me. That was pretty much the last professional decorating I ever did, because I knew it would never get easier than that project was. There was so little emotion involved. It was all just a business decision. It was so up my alley that, you know, he was just like, you know, make it such that I can get the highest rent possible. And I think back this, you know, we're going back 20 years and in the end, he was able to rent it for $10,000 a week. So it was, it was a win for everybody.
Yeah.
But I did, you know, unlike you guys, and I praise you every day for what you do. While I love good design, I do not love delivering the service. So I recognize for myself, and you know, Jenna, you know as well as I do, this has been a really rough few years for designers, and so, you know, we're not proposing that you take and shift your entire business model, but if you are finding yourself to be a little bit burnt out from those direct relationships with homeowners, then this could be a bit of a nice mental break as well. You know, where it,
that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was ready to come back into it and take clients.
Yeah. Okay, so you know, as you're working with builders, as you're working with realtors, as you're developing these relationships, were there any other benefits that you discovered, you know, after you were done working together? So like you delivered this initial service, any spinoff, any benefits from that, you know, whether it's more business or whether it's just, you know, increased confidence or skills? What would you say?
All of that. It definitely increased my confidence. Like I said, I'm not a kitchen bath designer. I leave the actual designing of the kitchen space to somebody in that field where we're ordering the cabinets from. But I have a very good eye for putting together samples and finishes and fixtures and stuff like that. Very cohesive in the way that I do it. So I really wanted to focus on that portion. But also the things that came with it were all the referrals. And I I moved from Charleston in, what was it? No, well, technically we moved in July, but our house was finished in November. So I was still getting referrals from Florida from my realtors, and I still do to this day, just because they have seen my work, and we turn some of these houses into show houses and all of that. So this is actually a Parade of Homes house for the fall. We're currently building our spring Parade of Homes house now, and they're gonna fly me down so that I can stage it for it. So not only the referral business, but also sometimes I would work with the realtor's clients, and we would build that into like a pricing structure for me to just go for the custom builds, go with them and make the selections. And then I told them my price, they would bulk it in, and then we would do that. So the referral business that comes from this, it's so constant. And it's, I only work with like 2 or 3 realtors in Florida. So right now I'm building my network here by reaching out. I literally hired a photographer that does the headshots for all of the top producers. And so for my branding shots, I hired her here because I know how well connected she is. I'm now designing her townhome. So that is, and her townhome is it's her photo studio. She literally was buying it when I was there. So I'm very strategic in the people that I hire to get referrals down the road. So now when people go in to get photos with her, they're going to say, oh my gosh, who designed this? Because we created all these different vignettes. This is my hope, right? So they're going to say, who designed this? And I'll have some cards there because they always get these questions when they're selling homes, to whether they're new build or just, real estate in general, for people that need help renovating when they move in. They need help buying furniture when they move in. It will always be there that they're going to need help. So I want to be on the tip of their tongue every time somebody asks for that referral through the realtor.
Smart. Yeah, really good. Okay, so we talked about these strategic relationships that you either formed in the past or that you're working hard on forming now. I know we're going to get into some of this today, but maybe you can give everybody a bit of a teaser. What's your advice on how designers can start to create some of those relationships for themselves, whether it be directly with builders or through realtors or through other showrooms, whatever it might be? What advice can you give?
Talk to people. So for so long, being a virtual designer, and I am an introvert, so like this is great that I can't see any of your faces because I can just kind of talk. Little different.
Really, and I find myself constantly, looking off to the right, trying to get some feedback. Like, are you all still there?
Yeah.
Listening. Somebody put something in the chat.
So that's the thing, like it was very hard for me. I don't want to make this sound like it was very easy, but I knew I had to do it to get that business. I had to go out there. I had to just talk about what I do. I'm at the dentist in Florida, and I said, he's saying, what do you do for a living? And I told him, and then I went into a little bit more detail because I can't not, I love what I do. And so he was like, oh, my wife's putting together her therapy place. Maybe there's a connection there. I was literally moving, so I didn't take him up on that. But when you talk everywhere you go about what you do, the referrals kind of just come because people talk about it too. Now, as a side note, virtually, if you're still like not really ready to come out and do that, what I did was I reached out to prospects too. So realtors, I would say, hey, I'm writing some realtor blogs, and I actually am working on all of these right now behind the scenes. I've only released one so far. I go to the people that are top producing for realtors, and I say, tell me about your market. I want to know like what people are building, all of that stuff. So they share my blog posts because they've been featured in it. And then, I'm sharing them too for referrals. And I'll do this in kind of different places that I've lived. That's what I'm assembling now. But just opening up the door to say, this is free. I just want a collaboration with you so that I can share my expertise. You can share yours as a realtor. And then we can work together on those referral bases. So there's so many different possibilities, but really just talking about what you do. And loving
Mhm.
what you do and the confidence in what you do definitely has a factor in that, because you need to feel good about what you do. So if you're not offering services that you love, you should probably reevaluate that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think don't assume that most builders, realtors, anybody, who's in that home building industry in one way, whether directly or indirectly, even know this is a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're in the industry, so sometimes we get these blinders and we think that everybody, has the insight that we do, but they may not even know. So approach local realtors. So after I was in the furniture business, I was a realtor for several years. And I know, and I doubt that this is any different. Our brokers were always looking for novel new ways to get all of the agents into the office for our weekly meetings, because agents, of course, don't want to sit in a meeting. They want to go out and, do their thing. So I would be surprised if when you approach some real estate brokerages with an idea of putting together a presentation for the agents at that weekly meeting, that most brokers wouldn't be all over it.
Great idea.
So
Yeah.
it's, I know there was some back and forth, Jenna, when we were first talking about this idea about whether the timing was right given the economic forecast. Right. So the fact is, we gained a lot of realtors in the last few years in most markets. A lot of people saw it as pretty easy money and went out and got their real estate license and started selling real estate, and it was coming pretty easy for a time. And then as interest rates started to hike, not only realtors, but also home builders started to have, a bit more of a challenge. Not to say that, I have a good friend who's a realtor, and she told me that she had a record-breaking year last year, which I'm not surprised, because the ones that can adapt and change, just as we all had to during the pandemic, to a changing market, are the ones that are going to thrive. So while there are supply issues in most markets that are going to dictate that housing is still going to be a need, regardless of the economic conditions, there's still going to be people who need new housing. I think that if, whether it be a realtor or whether it be a home builder, if they want to be selling product that is above basic need and more into that luxury market, then they're going to have some more creative marketing and some more creative services to achieve that. So the same thing with designers, right? Like if we were to assume that the economic downturn or potential recession is going to eliminate the market for designers, would be very, very wrong. There is always a segment of the market that will have need.
Yeah.
So, what do you see? I know we already touched on it, but maybe you have some things you want to expand on there. What do you see as the reasons for builders needing to offer this service?
Well, exactly what you just ended with. So to set themselves apart from the other builders. So where I live right now, I live in a place called Nexton, which is in north of Charleston and Somerville. So this is a master plan community, and technically it's 10 years in, but there's so many plots that still need to be, developed out here. Literally my whole backyard, there's bulldozers developing the backyard. So there's always, they have this master plan here, and I know other places too, like they're planned for this. The place that I help in Florida as well, it's called Town of Tioga, and the builder's dad purchased all of this land like 20-30 years ago, and maybe longer, and they literally will be developing this for the next 20 years. So my job is pretty good, but also they're doing like one house at a time, so they'll build the show house, the spec home, and then they will sell off the plots, and then people can purchase there. But they also sell to other builders. So there's 4 other builders that are developing in this area as well. So the need is not going away, like you just said, but also people are very conscious of what they're putting in their house now, whether it be because they have Instagram, you know, and they want to take selfies with a really cool background, they want to show off their house. You can't just do what you were doing before with stock builder grade.
Right.
It's just like, I immediately threw out, and I hate to say this, but I immediately got rid of, or I'm going to sell them at my garage sale, but all the lights in here, because I didn't want to pay to upgrade to another crappy builder grade when I was building this house. So, and they wouldn't let me provide my own, like my last builder would. So the need to elevate your space, and only a designer can do that. Builders are great at building, but they're not great at designing. And that's where this partnership is crucial, because they have all these plots they need to sell, and the stakes are higher now because it's harder for them. So they're kind of looking for those strategic partnerships to be able to upsell and to stand out from the other builders. And I know one place in Nexton right now is doing something similar to this, and I just saw it. And they're also the top builder in the area. So it makes sense.
And it's, you know, the thing that's going to really be tricky for builders in these higher interest rate times is they're not, you know, builders are not building these houses, whether they be built on spec or show homes, or they're not building them with a pile of cash they have in their backyard. They're borrowing money to do it. So it's the carrying costs that are going to kill them. And so if a beautifully presented house sells twice as fast, which we all know it does, and any realtor will tell you it does, then they're mitigating one of their biggest risks right now, which is getting buried by carrying costs. So it's a win-win, like I said, and all the best services are, you know, as a designer, we all know this, that the services that you thrive on delivering, that, you know, are easiest to sell, easiest to, you know, make people understand the value of, are the ones that are an equal kind of win-win for all parties involved.
Yep, absolutely.
So home builders, and I've known my share too. They're not always great team players with a designer. You know, sometimes it's a little hard on their egos to have a designer kind of step in and have that client relationship. What's your advice for everybody today on vetting those home builders?
Yeah. Ask around. I mean, if you're going through realtors for the connections, they'll probably know. I also look at reviews. So like, I'll look at reviews, and you have to take them with a grain of salt and just kind of see if I'm not familiar, if I'm cold calling or something like that. I have been very lucky in that the builders that I work with are very down to earth. They are team players for the most part, and they're very hands-on. I've avoided, like on purpose, the ones that did not have the best reputations for that. So, you know, that kind of it sucks for them, but also like, you know, be nicer, and then maybe people would want to work with you. So I go to them because it's a collaborative effort, you know. When I was brought onto the Tioga team, they were looking for a new designer because they had worked with a few previously. And so the designers that they were working with, they just were very controlling and not as nice to work with, is basically what I understood. So I bring a different kind of collaboration experience to my clients. It is very collaborative. So I say, you tell me what you want, what you're looking for. I'm going to make it beautiful for you in the way that I know how. But I also heavily rely on my trades. So I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. And so sometimes, you know, that is, well, I'm not sometimes, all the time, when I am upfront and honest about, hey, I don't design CAD drawings. I did before. I don't like it. But I know somebody that can do it. And just that open honesty back and forth really helps with the collaboration process. Yeah,
it's really smart. I think finding, you know, finding builders that are on the same page. So small town here, small enough that like maybe a known builder in the area is my brother-in-law, and maybe a known designer in the area is a good friend of mine. It was really, and we're going back a few years now, but it was really interesting There was at one time a project kind of going sideways a bit, but I had heard from both of them the reasons, and it was actually similar on both sides. They felt that the other was undermining them to the client.
Mm.
Right. So I think it's really important. And a lot of times, we think of it from a designer perspective, and we've all been in that position where the, felt that the builder didn't respect what we did or was undermining us, or, just going off in whatever direction was easiest for them instead of, following instructions we had left. But I think it happens on both sides. And I think that, like, if you can find a builder that is on the same page and fully understands the service and like is on board with it, that you're not going to have any of that kind of toxic triangulation happening. Everybody's just going to be on the same page with the same goal of providing, a beautiful space for the client.
Yeah.
It's
and
good for everyone.
Their restrictions and their perimeters from the get-go, understanding them definitely helps to go in the right direction. Make sure you have all the information from the beginning as you're assembling these types of programs.
Yeah, that's fair. So, beyond asking around and getting some feedback, whether it be from past clients or trades, etc., just talk to them. Just have a conversation, right? So, when you're looking for these relationships, these strategic relationships, approach it with curiosity. Go into it, and you're trying to learn if their approach to client service is a fit with yours, just as much as you're trying to learn if they're interested in what you have to offer.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Very much so. That was my approach in approaching these other two builders that I'm specifically talking about today. I did not really need the work, but I wanted the work. So I went in there with that mentality. I wanted it because it was different and fun, and I love to shake things up, and you're not working directly with clients all the time. So when, the collaboration opportunities presented themselves, I went into it with, I'm going to ask them questions like, what can they do? And in the end, I'm so happy I did because 3 years later, we're still collaborating.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Jenna, I went through a lot of the questions I had pretty quickly. So we do have a bit of time before our next session. So let me, and Jason,
I have all my presentation I need to share.
Yeah, no, I know, but even with that, we're a tiny bit ahead. But maybe we will. Yeah, we'll jump into your presentation, and then we'll save the Q&A for after, because I feel like you all probably have a dozen questions for Jenna at this point, but so many of them are going to be answered with the next presentation. So we'll save Q&A till the end. I'm going to drop off from here, but I'll be in over here. I'll monitor the Q&A. I'll be in the chat. You can send messages directly to the panelists if you like, or you can send them so that everyone can view. The Q&A is visible to everyone, just so that you all know. I like to be upfront about that and transparent about that. Q&A is visible to everyone. Chats can be sent to individuals. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing here, Jenna, and I'm going to turn off my camera. I'm really excited. I'm hoping to take notes along with everybody today. So good luck. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Jason, everybody can see the screen, correct? If I share, okay, just want to make sure we're good to go. And I will, okay. Bear with me for 1 second. Stop. Presentation mode takes over the whole screen, so bear with me. We are. Okay, thank you. All right, so number one here was talking about basically all the questions that Stacey just had for me. Now I'm going to fill in some context around basically everything that I just said. If I don't now, we'll probably touch on it later throughout the day. So what you see on the screen right now are two examples of pitch emails. And if you're screenshotting, don't worry, because you will be getting these at the end of the day. Well, when the recording goes out, if you don't already have them. So these are great pitches that you can customize and make your own for when you are cold calling or if you have a warm lead. So we just want to provide you all with those. And now I'm going to talk about my finished selection service. Like I said, this is so much fun for me personally. I love doing flat lays. I love creating schematics throughout the house and doing all of that stuff. So when I create these, what it is basically a pre-selected package of finishes that builders can use to sell variations of customization in their different floor plans. So I will show you an example of kind of what I did and how I do that in a second. But the reason why we do this, like Stacey and I were just touching on, is that we want to make this process honestly easier for the homeowner, but also for the builder. Like I said, I've been building a couple of houses personally, so I've gone through this experience, and without it, it was very bumpy, even for me as a designer, because I was just kind of like, I send over everything to you. Did you get all this stuff? And then they would ask me constantly, like, okay, so what's the tile? What's this? What's that? And I'm like, I put it in a beautiful spreadsheet for you. Here's all the links, like everything that you would need. But I did that as a professional. Now imagine as a homeowner, if your builder just said, okay, go to the tile store, talk to Dana, and then you're like, well, what do I do? And the tile people are so helpful, but also like, it's busy. I would go on Saturdays and do stuff like that, and they don't have time to sit there with you. So this is just making it way more efficient, just so much better for the builder, for the homeowner, for you. It's really a great program. The fee structure is a flat fee structure with different blocks of hours and different deliverables. So we're going to get into that. You will get a calculator that you can explore different price points, different variations of things. You're gonna have that to play around with as well. Then the benefit for you is just relationship building on top of such a fun service, right? So it's fun, but also like you're getting so much out of it. If your ideal client is a new homeowner, this is perfect for you guys. You're just getting your name out there before you even meet this person. So here are a few service presentation templates. These are built in Canva. You are welcome to use them. Please don't use my images, but you are welcome to use them in your marketing plans. So today we're going to go through flat lays, both real flat lays and digital flat lays. So after we do that, we're going to do some rendering. So you're going to see basically how I got this plan, because the top is actually a photo, but how I did the renders and the concepts and whatnot for all of this. So you are welcome to use these for yourself as little brochures to send, to hand out, whatever you want to do. Edit your logos, your pictures, your brand colors, and make it your own, okay? Okay, so what to include? You want to cover all your bases. So a finish package is curated by the designer from vendors that the builder works with. So when I am initially meeting with either the realtor or the builder, I will say, okay, give me your list. Like, where are we ordering from? Because typically they already have their set trades that they either can get, right? Because that's part of the hard part. Like that's why we didn't move in for 4 more months, because my kitchens were somewhere in the ocean. So they work with specific vendors, and my builders are actually very open to new people, to new brands. And so when I go to KBIS, I'm very excited to be checking out all of that to see if I can bring them any new unique things that are in stock and also very different from what they've been doing. So working with those builders is vendors is number one for your builder. Okay, the set plan. So finished selections are broken down typically by the space or category. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then it includes a finished schedule. So, if I do a specific tile on the wall in the shower, and maybe it's also the floor, but it's a different size, I'm going to have all those specifications in my presentation to them. And at the end of the day, Dixie is going to show you how to do that specifically. Deliverables. So this is totally for you to customize. I said in the beginning, I am not a kitchen designer. I can get by just because I've been learning with all you guys for so long, but I don't love it. So I don't do that. I also don't do the CAD drawings or cheap, whatever program they want to use. I get those drawings after they have outsourced that. So if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm very big into outsourcing specific things that I don't like to do. Also, I've done them, so I know, how it should look. But these are specific things that I don't want to do. So I am very upfront from the beginning, and I say, I will produce flat lays, I will produce renders, I will produce a finished schedule, and also I could do ordering, things like that. But I've streamlined my process so much that I don't do any of the like cabinet ordering or any of that stuff. I say, here's my list builder, it's your turn. So I hand it off. Now, if you do like to control how everything's going, and you are local and you can do that if that's your thing. Okay. All right, so example types of finished selection packages that you could do. So this is how I broke all mine down into kitchen, bathroom, exterior, and lighting. I also had one other category that is for flooring and paint. That way I could take the flooring sample, take a large like peel and stick one from Sherwin-Williams, and be able to put the two together for their showroom and say, these two are good. Oh, Jason. That's okay. So that I put everything together, and I say, like these floors and paints can go in this combination if you select kitchen option number 1. That way there is consistency, people understand the flow, and everything works. So here's the examples of what I'm talking about. So for the kitchen, here was one that I did. So I basically said, okay, first of all, give me your samples if you have any. They had only countertops and they had cabinet doors. So everything else I had to go find. So I went to the tile shop and I picked out all of the flooring, the walls, and that's what these larger ones are. And then any detail for like backsplash. So a couple of these different options, and then the countertops here. I always love to add a little pop of greenery, or else this would be super flat. And then I add the hardware color. So it's optional. I say if you choose a black hardware, you can typically mix it with anything. And then I get into that type of information in the lighting. So I say, if you choose a silver pole in the kitchen, you're probably not going to go with gold fixtures in the kitchen. You're probably going to go with black or some kind of a silver finish. So I do list out those specifications because I'm not there presenting this. Remember, the builder or realtor is presenting. So you have to give them all the specific details so that they can do this. It's the same thing for the bathroom. And then I specify, like you can use this tile. Here's where I would use it, in the niche, or, if you do like a waterfall or something. And then the exterior. So I made tons of these in Photoshop. And then I did all these different paint variations, color door variations, trim. They had all these already selected for their HOA had to approve all these, first of all, so they gave me a list. And then the stone siding, they had like 4 different options. So I mixed everything. They had a charcoal black or a brown roof. And so I came up with, I think, like 20 different variations for them because all the houses were starting to just be like white, and it was really boring. Same with my neighborhood, but we're the only blue ones. So give people an idea of how colors can go together, because they don't know. Like, they literally would be sitting there overwhelmed. But I just streamlined by saying, okay, here's 7 kitchen options. Which one do you like? Okay, you like that kitchen? So if you choose that kitchen, here's your bathroom options. And then move on to, primary bathroom, bathroom 1, bathroom 2, depending on the floor plan that they have already selected. That's something I do want to say. They generally have already selected the floor plan that they want, and then this is the second phase to the buying process. Now we apply the finishes to the frame or to the floor plan. And then lighting. So I had, like a all black lighting option. And then I did mixed with brass and black. I did a silver, and then I think just all brass. So they could make their selections, but also I gave alternatives. So like if this vanity light was not their vibe, they had a separate list of alternatives in the same price point that they could then sub in and out. Okay, so pricing. Number of options, we suggest you give like a minimum of 3 options, and then you work off a base price. We'll get into the calculator in a second. Fixed hours, so this service is not typically billed hourly. You need to estimate how many hours it's going to take you. And like I said with Stacy earlier, I was 8 months pregnant. It took a longer time than it probably should have, because it was a very sweaty, hot experience, if I'm being honest, in Florida. But it was something that the more you do, the more streamlined you're going to get. And if you already have your own like bank of materials at your house, I generally just play sometimes, and I'm like, what combinations do I like? And then in the future, potentially I could, just use them. I don't know, I need to get a life maybe, but I think it's fun to just kind of play around. And if you have a big library, it's great. So overages, you can't really foresee anything that's going to happen. So like maybe you have to go back to the tile store 3 times, and somebody else had checked out something that you wanted, and then you have to keep going back and forth. Build in yourself a little cushion into this pricing program. Add-ons and upsells. I don't include visualizations in my base price. I say they're extra, they're XYZ, and here's what's included. We'll get into that in a sec. And also for upselling your time with clients for the semi-custom builds. If you go to the tile store, if you go, pick out countertops, whatever that is, you can block in like fixed rates for that. Okay, so example pricing. This is example pricing. Definitely make sure that you are checking where your current pricing is, what you're billing hourly for that, and it will definitely fluctuate. So kitchen, if you charge $1,500 as your for 3 options, 2 for base pricing, and then 1 for an upgrade. Primary bathroom, around $1,000 for 3 options, 2 base pricing, and then main bathroom. Now, when you're doing these boards, you are doing them all at the same time, right? So you might be mixing and matching all your materials. My day that I shot the actual, flat lays, after I had all the materials at my house, it took me, oh man, I had so many, and I was developing the program. So I think that specific day, it took me about 5 hours to shoot all of the options that I had. And I had a lot of options. So just take that into consideration, maybe do some dry runs and see what this could feasibly, how much time it could take you. Visualization. So if you want to add on your renders and walkthroughs, this right here is for 5 different images. Okay, so this is one kitchen with 5 different options laid out. So they get 5 different images with different concepts, and then a 720 walkthrough of one predominant. But you can break this up however you'd like. If you don't already use the My Doma visualizer, there is an incredible video option as well. So you can literally give video home tours or give them that link to virtually walk through either one space or all the spaces at once. Okay, so you will also be getting the templates too. So if you kind of see the breakdown here, you'll see room 1 template, your base price, because you estimate it will take you about 9 hours. And then room 1 add-ons, say you have 27 variations of what they can choose. You multiply that by whatever you're charging per choice, and then it comes out right here. And then you would go and kind of fill in each room individually, and that's how you would come up with your price here at the bottom. So this will be available to you, and also this one. So this is a little bit more detailed in what it includes. So your asset collection and review, this is when you're getting all your floor plans, your pricing grid. So like your builder will say, here's your budget, you know, you got to stay in this line for all these tiles and combinations. And then the vendor list. I also collected whatever materials they had on hand, and I brought those over to my house. Then, you know, actual sourcing. So you would go out and find these products, right? You go to the tile store, you go to the countertop place, and then you mix everything in. And then you create some flat lays. That's the next step. You have all the stuff, you put it all together, you create all your combinations, and then you create your finished schedules. And since you hopefully were curating your schedules and saving everything before, this should be fairly simple. Now you're just saying, okay, this one goes with this combination, this one goes with that combination. And then your presentation and final handoff. So if you break down your estimated hours for how long this feasibly would take you, okay, so like this is yours, you can customize everything in here. How long does each of these steps take? What is your estimated hourly rate that you would like to charge for that? Total, factor in your overage, and then you have your cost per service right here. Now, add-ons, this is going to fluctuate, but 3D rendering, so this is when you have your actual 3D model, you generate 5 different images, 5 different finishes, estimated, maybe this will take you 12 hours. To build out the floor plan will definitely take you some time, and then change out everything, get all the renders. It is a process, so try it. I think that when you're creating this program, and then when you're trying to sell it to somebody, you need to do it first, right? So you need to have examples of what you can do for them. So when you're creating your examples, you definitely want to be timing yourself so that you can make sure that you're accurate in your pricing, and also know that you're going to get faster as you go along. One thing I did for 3D rendering is I actually outsourced the floor plan part to my VAs. And if you don't know the VAs, I'm happy to help you connect you with the 3 that we have here with my Doma. And so those ladies actually helped me just do the floor plan. And then after that, I went through and I put in the finishes and all of that because I didn't want to. I literally didn't have time to do the floor plan, and I just couldn't wrap my head around doing that. I just didn't want to import it and get all the stuff in. And I was like, this time I'm outsourcing. So pick and choose whenever, you know, that might be something you want to do, and then build it into your pricing model. Okay. So rendering for finish options, do the 720 walkthrough tours. How many are you going to include? And then the video walkthroughs. So these are all up to you in the way that you choose to price and structure them. But here's a general flow chart for you of how this whole service comes to be. So first you're qualifying, you're reaching out, you're researching, you're emailing, you're meeting with these potential builders and you know, realtors if they have the connections, and then the intake. So you present the proposal, the initial invoice. Once approved, once you have your money, you then go on to the collection of assets, get the floor plans, vendor lists, etc. Development, go ahead and get to work, start creating the flat lays, start putting all the finishes together so that you can just very easily hand it over to them. And then delivery, hand it over to them, and the closeout. So the final invoice, if you have split up anything, if they've added anything on in the meantime, and then you hand over those assets. that was a lot of information. So are there any questions? And I believe Stacy's coming back because I don't have my chat up. Okay. Okay, Jason, Jason. Great question. Okay, so Jason just told me about one of the questions, and one of the questions is the QR code. Whoops, that is here. You can actually click on it right in here and it'll take you over to it. Okay, so the QR code in the here. So I actually have this on my business card that I just had printed. It's just like a direct way for you to send people to a service page. I do not have this as a public service page on my website, okay? Because typically I want to vet them, and I have other, like PDF content and stuff like that that could be helpful for them. But you can link the QR code to either a builder specific page. If they've gotten this, they want to learn more and reach out to you. You can build it right into your service page. If this is a public service that you list on your website, you can do it there, or you can just list it to like your chat with me page. So this choice is really up to you. When you build these in Canva, there's actually a way for you to embed a QR code and make one right in Canva. So you don't need a third-party program for that. Jason, are there other questions?
Yeah, I'm going to turn my mic on, so hopefully people can hear me now. Hello, everyone. Carrie Lynn was asking if this pricing is in USD.
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm just going to scroll here. People asking about slides and recordings. Yep, you'll get those on Friday, so we'll be good. Susan Simon says, are you charging the $2,500 per homeowner, or is this for a package of, say, 10 homes?
Oh, none of this is for the homeowner. So this is for the realtor or builder. So what I actually did was my builder and realtor are connected. Like, she sells the houses for him in all of these plots that they have for all the phases. And basically he just builds them. So like, they're in constant communication. She's the one that connects with the client as the middle person and then goes to the builder. So they actually split the cost of this because it's a selling tool for the realtor as much as it is for the builder. So does that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay, let me know if it doesn't, but it is for the realtor, that price. But just know that I'm sorry, realtor builder, but just know that a lot of the time they actually split the cost because it's beneficial to both of them.
Perfect. Tresha's saying, do you give a referral fee to realtors? If so, how much?
I'm working on developing that new program right now. So yes, but it really depends on the service is all I'm going to say. Because when I did it before, it was a flat rate, and then you have to track it and like do all this, which is fine. But I think maybe this time, because my services all changed in October, I'm going to do a percentage, small percentage referral fee, but there's different ways you could do it.
Sure. Liz asks, do you ever work with a builder that has in-house designers? If so, how do you sell the service in that situation?
Typically, you're not looking for people that already have designers. Like, they're already done, right? Unless if they're not doing this yet or don't have the skill set yet. I go for builders and realtors that don't have a design team in place or need a better one that just can be updated and I can bring something to the table. Typically, if there's a design team, they're pretty good with this, and hopefully they've been developing this program so they don't really need your services.
Fair. Okay. So this is a bit of a long one. This might be a bit of a journey to get there, but Mary Beth asks, hi, Jenna, I do 50-50 residential and developers. What do you recommend for a process when the builder is allowing more freedom in finishes? Is this where the packages for the client directly? I've selected his designer 1, 2, 3, but at the 1 million plus, the home buyers are loving his flexibility.
Yes. So one of the neighborhoods I work in is probably about, well, let's see, how much our house is now. I think it's in the 400 range for the lower end. And then the other one is in the 700 to million plus range. So for the lesser priced homes, those are typically my stocked choose these options. But if you need me to work with you, because he does allow semi-custom, then we build into the actual fee of the house, I believe is how the realtor was doing it. The realtor would bill me for my extra time. So like I did 3 hours, we went to tile store, you can fluctuate, whatever that's going to be. So that's where I would say, yes, it's great to have all of these options for the, standard, I guess your standard neighborhood is a great place to have this. But if you're doing semi-custom and it's a higher range point, then you would probably offer your services either directly, where like you just partner with that builder, they give you the referrals, whatever, or they build it into the price of their home, which I believe is what the realtor was doing because she just billed me directly.
Gotcha. Melissa's asking, do you work with national builders or small builders typically?
Small, because the national builders have a design team. The home that I'm in now, they are a national brand, or at least up this coast, and they have, different showrooms that we would go to and make our selections there. Their process was actually very good. It was half digital, half in person. So national, I'm going to say they're probably pretty set, but maybe not. So definitely do your research and see if their process is going well. And it looks easy for everybody to follow, but I go for the smaller builders.
Perfect. Someone's inquiring, how are you making cold calls, in person or by email?
So email first, but I typically get referrals. So when I was first doing it, it was in person. And I was just chatting about what I do and how I do it. That is honestly the best organic way to do this. If you can go in and see builders, they're probably never like in an office, right? So like very rarely are they going to be in an office. They might just be on site for the most part. So it's kind of hard to like just drop by and pitch them. So I would definitely start with email for that.
Karen wants to know, do your builders ever ask you to present to the client? And if so, what is your fee structure for that?
So that would just be hourly if I were to. In the beginning, when the program was launching, I did do dry runs with them. So I sat down, I said, here's how I would present, here's what I would do. And we actually collaborated on the presentation and how that would go. So they felt very confident in what they were presenting. But if you were asked to be there, and a lot of realtors do partner with people that are looking, home buyers that are looking specifically for new construction. So they might be taking them around, they might need their own designer. That is an option for you too. But I typically just kind of hand it over and I say, call me when you need me.
Yeah. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Forgive me if I don't. But Aruj says, hi, I feel like many builders have a pre-selected selection of tiles, countertops, etc., and a center where homeowners can go to make these selections. Do you feel like designer can pitch developers in this situation?
So I don't think that they all do. And I know for a fact that they don't, because if they did, I wouldn't have created this program because it didn't exist. So I think there's a lot that are coming out of this COVID time, and they're kind of white knuckling it because they're like, oh my gosh, we have all these houses. People are just walking away from some houses. So like they're in these crazy situations. But I know for a fact that not every builder has this, and that a lot of them don't even know that this option exists. Your job as a professional, when you're looking to pitch this, is figure out who does and who doesn't. I would start in your local area, but also the potential, to reach out. This is a virtual service. So if you can say, okay, I need a Constantino, sample, I'm going to go locally and grab it, then you can absolutely do that. I am literally doing it right now for a new construction home. in Florida. And it's, yeah, that's spec home. So
Perfect. Oh, here's an interesting thought from Michelle. They ask, have you taken this further and offered to furnish their spec home? If so, what does that look like?
heck yes, I did. Okay, so that looks exactly like these pictures because because that's what this is. I literally created mood boards, concept boards, with clickable links, affiliate links to products that they could get quickly because they had to stage this quickly. But I also utilized what they already had in their staging inventory because this particular builder does have their own inventory sitting there. So they just move it around from different homes. And so what I did was I said, okay, if we're going for this vibe, we need to change out these chairs. We need to change out the dining table, and then we need to order this new sofa. So I ordered a few things through my trade resources that drop ship. So like there's a leather sofa here. I ordered that. I ordered 2 chairs, and then I had them shipped over to them. But the rest of the stuff, I said, here's my affiliate links, go purchase. And I made an extra $300 off those affiliate links just from referring the program. And I didn't have to track orders or do anything like that. Unfortunately for this home, I did not get there to stage this because it was around High Point Market last year. So Kayla Lockheed, Ryan Lockheed, the swimmer's wife, is actually one of the realtors that does this in this neighborhood. So she staged this home for me based off of the drawings and the concept boards that I provided to them. But I will be there in the spring to do it. I'm excited.
Okay. So we have a lot of questions, but I want to keep us on time. So maybe we'll just do this one.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
We appreciate all the questions, sincerely.
All day, guys.
Yeah.
Definitely want
Well, and that's the worst thing too, right? When there are no questions. So we have a very good problem to have. But yeah, we'll try and address them later in the day, or we'll find some sort of alternative means to make sure they got answered. But I think this is a great one. Kim asks, what do you tell builders for how long the process takes from payment to finished deliverables? I think that's a really good question.
It depends on your schedule, personally, right? So how much you have going on. If you're reaching out to these builders, it's probably because you're trying to drum up some business for yourself, right? So as long as they're acting quickly and not like, 3 months later when you maybe are slammed, it's totally up to you and your time frame and how much you have on your plate right now. If you have assistants that can work with you on getting the resources that you can, venture out with the VAs for the rendering, if you upsell that. My turnaround time was, I believe, 2.5, 3 weeks, just because I wanted to make sure that I had everything I needed. It did take a little bit of time to actually get some pull knobs in stock. So I would set a time frame estimate based on your unique business model.
Perfect. Sorry, we lost the screen there. Doing too much at once. Yeah, just a moment here, everyone. We are going, there we go. All right. Well, like I said, I want to kind of keep us on time, so I think we'll leave it there. But we're going to take a break. We'll be back at 11:30 with flat lays, which is another one I'm really excited for. So yeah, take a break, get a stretch, get another beverage if you need it, and we'll be back real soon.